Hey, I'm Stephanie, and it's time to declutter some eyeshadow, specifically liquid, cream, and single potted shadows. Because this is one of my favorite cosmetic categories, I figured I would break my eyeshadow collection down into smaller subcategories to make it easier for me to avoid decision fatigue and also to focus on my priority, which is to keep only my most useful and favorite items. Because makeup expires, and I only have one face, so I'm trying to find a balance between makeup maximalism and the clock. And what I mean by that is that I'm trying to find a way to embrace the detail-oriented swatch goblin in me with giving myself enough time and space to truly get the value out of all of the beautiful things I own. Because cream and liquid cosmetics often expire faster than their powder counterparts, I thought it would be smart if I start my declutter with my cream and liquid shadows, because I'm a little bit more motivated to really streamline this part of my collection. And since I know that this is a category that my swatch goblin does not want to get rid of, I am invoking the Time Will Tell box, which is basically just a little box I have off to the side, and I've been putting my decluttered items in there so that I can live with a decluttered collection for several weeks and finalize my decisions to make sure that I haven't made any grave mistakes. Once the dust has settled and my decisions are all final, I will be doing an entire makeup collection inventory. So if that's the sort of thing you'd like to see, make sure you're subscribed. But now let's switch to the overhead camera and see if I can convince myself to part with any of my eyeshadow. These are all of the single eyeshadows I have that I consider standalone products that I can use on their own. I've got some liquids, sticks, creams, some potted shadows with loose powders, with pressed powders, with kind of more glittery formulas. And so I think maybe the best place to start would be to just pick a category. And I guess we'll start with liquids. When it comes to the different formulas of liquids, I have some shiny shadows and some matte shadows. I tend to think of these matte shadows as bases. They can be worn on their own and they work beautifully because on my oily eyelids, they don't even crease, which is pretty miraculous. But sometimes I also like to use them as eyeshadow primers because all of these colors work in that capacity as well. These are more one and done shadows. So on a day where I don't want to do anything else and just want a little bit of shine on my lids, these are what I would go for. Let's put these off to the side for now and focus on these matte shadows. I have two Ulta Beauty matte cream eyeshadows. One is in the shade Game Over and one is in the shade Vintage Beauty. And then I have one About Face fluid eye paint in the shade Smell Before Rain. I think maybe what we should do is start off with some swatches. So this is Smell Before Rain from About Face, and you don't need much product. A little goes a long way and they blend really nicely. So we'll just put this here, I guess. When I purchased this, I was originally hoping it would be a little bit lighter and brighter, and instead it's just a grayish on me. It's still a beautiful, useful color, just wasn't quite what I was expecting. However, I've been getting a lot of use out of it, actually, especially in conjunction with this and with this. I find that these three create a great eye look. This is STILA, the liquid shadow in Kitten, and this is DIOR Beige Mitzah. And I'll use this as a base. I'll use this all over the mobile lid, and then I will use the STILA as an eyeliner. And it really gives me this beautiful, shiny, bright look, and I really enjoy wearing these three. In fact, that's what I'm wearing in the video today. But back to the task at hand. We'll put these away for now, and we'll continue swatching these Ulta Beauty shadows. So this is the shade Game Over, and this works exceptionally well as kind of a drugstore affordable priced base with some color to it, because even on my oily eyelids it resists creasing. So I can use this on its own, but I can also use it under any of my choppers and it looks great, and it's this kind of warmish shade. And the reason I purchased this was because I received this from my mother for Christmas, also from Ulta Beauty. It's in Vintage Beauty, and this is a cooler color. And I really enjoyed the formula so much that I decided I would go pick up a warmer version of it just so that I could do different types of eye looks, and I haven't regretted it. I really liked all three of these. Because all three of these colors and both of these formulas are very versatile and work really nicely for me and they're very utilitarian, it's definitely worth keeping all three of these for me. I just have to remember in future that I cannot purchase any more liquid eyeshadows, at least not matte kind of primer shades like these, unless I use any of these up or they expire, because I don't want to have so many of them that I can't use them. But I feel like the colors here are different enough that I use them for different reasons, and so I'm going to hold on to these. But what will I do with their shiny counterparts? These two shadows are great. STILA Kitten is just this beautiful shiny shade. I've used about, well, I think a little bit more than half of this actually, and I use it as an eyeshadow all over my mobile lid, but I also use it as an eyeliner, and so in that sense it's really flexible. This is, let's see, which formula is it? It's the Shimmer and Glow formula. So it's not that glitter formula that everyone was raving about forever ago. It's just kind of got a glimmery shine to it, or a sheen, just really gentle. But I like that as an eyeliner when it kind of peeks through my eyelashes. I think it just kind of gives a little something something to the eyes. So I really enjoy this. And this is Danessa Myricks Colorfix cream in the shade Ballerina. And I actually already owned this and decluttered it because it wouldn't stay on my eyes. But then I purchased the Sonia G Fusion brushes, and that changed the game for me when it came to eyeshadow staying power on my oily eyelids. And I had decluttered this to my mother, and she was kind enough to give it back to me so I could try it with my Fusion brushes. And I'm happy to report it works so well with those Fusion brushes. So I have been able to get some really great use out of this color. And it's also kind of a beautiful, soft, glittery shade. There's some glitter particles in there, but it's kind of a soft look and it's just so pretty. It's almost like fairy dust on the eyelids. And so I've been really enjoying this. However, I think I actually might be able to get rid of this and give it back to my mother, because I know that she really liked this. And at Christmas time, I got this. It's the Charlotte Tilbury, let's see, what is it called? Eyes to Mesmerize Cream Shadow Formula in the shade EXAGGER-EYES. This one just kind of like comes and goes from stock. I think it's an exclusive to her website. So it's difficult to find, but every time it comes back into stock, I kind of celebrate. Probably because I waited so long. I really wanted it when it first came out, and then it disappeared. And then I saw it again, but I was on my no-buy, so I couldn't get it. And then I saw it again, and I wasn't in the mood to purchase an eyeshadow, so I didn't get it. And then finally, at Christmas time, it came back into stock, and I picked it up. And I'm so happy I did, because this has become one of my favorite shadows. Let's see, I'll do a little bit of a swatch here. But this is very similar to the Danessa Myricks. It's just got a peachier base, and I feel like the peachier base kind of suits me a little bit better than the pinkiness. The pinky is fine, but I figure if I'm going to only be able to wear one eyeshadow on my eyes at a time, I might as well choose the one that's most suited to my skin tone. And this color right here, this is the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize and EXAGGER-EYES. Right there, that one I feel like is just the better version for my skin tone, even though that's nice. So I'm going to give this to my mother. So we'll put this in the declutter pile, because I'm going to keep this. And I actually think this shadow right here gives me permission to declutter something else. Because when I take a closer look at my actual use history of this eyeshadow, the Charlotte Tilbury EXAGGER-EYES Cream Shadow, I've noticed that I use it very much the same way I've always used this one. This is Urban Decay's Space Cowboy. Now, these are by no means the same shadow, but they do have a similar end effect on the eye. They both have a peachy base, they both have a very nice shine to them, and they both have kind of a wet look. And so I have discovered that 9 times out of 10, when I'm going for that kind of look, I've always reached for the Charlotte Tilbury shadow. And that's not just because it's newer to me, it's also because this formula is easier for me to use on my eye shape. The Urban Decay shadow often gives me problems with fallout. I have to use it with a glitter glue. It can be a little bit trickier. And so the only time I reach for the Urban Decay is when I'm going for a brighter look. But I'm wondering if I really need both of them. So let's do some quick swatches just to see. First, we'll swatch the Charlotte Tilbury. So here we have the Charlotte Tilbury EXAGGER-EYES shade, which does have kind of a deeper peach base, but look at that beautiful, cool, silvery shine over the top. I feel like that kind of gives it a similar quality, that similar wet look to the Urban Decay without all the messiness. But let's swatch Urban Decay Space Cowboy just to be sure. Okay, and so the base of Urban Decay Space Cowboy isn't quite as dark, but I feel like the shine on both of them is very similar. And so I'm thinking that because Space Cowboy is just a little bit trickier for me to use, and I only use it about 10% of the time, then maybe I don't need to keep it. Oh gosh, this is a hard one. I think I'm going to put it in the Time Will Tell box. So I'm going to declutter it for now. And I'll live without it for a few weeks and see if I really miss it. So Urban Decay Space Cowboy, surprise, surprise, to me, is getting decluttered. I'm going to close this up so it doesn't dry out on me. And next, let's talk about the STILA. I think I'm definitely going to have to keep this because I like it on its own, but I also have my kind of go-to everyday combination. And I think it's definitely worth keeping because of that. And this, of course, is the Beige Mitzah shadow I bought last year. And I am still really enjoying the smoothness of this shadow. So I guess we might as well swatch it while we're here. And I guess we'll put it right here. This is just such a smooth, smooth shadow. And I really enjoy the kind of smooth, sophisticated shine of that DIOR Beige Mitzah color. Let's do some organization. Let's see, all of the keepers, I guess, will go over here for now. And all of the declutters will go over here. And maybe then we can get a better idea of what's going on. Okay, let's take a look at these next. These are eyeshadow sticks from NUDESTIX. It's called their Magnetic Eye Color. And I have 5 different shades. There was a time in my life where this kind of thing was almost all I wore, but I do find that I have since drifted away from using this type of product. And I think it's because I've realized that I have small eyes, that I've got hooded eyes, and so a thick pencil format like this simply doesn't necessarily suit my eye shape because the pencils are really thick. I can use them, and especially, I can just go in with a brush and use them, but it's not necessarily as efficient as just using a smaller eyeliner would be. And I realize that they're made this size so that you can use them as eyeshadows all over your eye, but I have tended to use this formula as more of an eyeliner. So maybe we can let's do the shiny shades first. We'll maybe do them next to some of these shiny shades so we can see. Gilt is a very nice kind of golden bronze color, and we'll do it next to, the shiny shades. So we'll swatch them here, I think. Oh, yeah, these are very soft. Soft and creamy, still in very good condition. And they've got a soft shine. They're not like super sparkly or anything. And I realize that I do like a soft shine like this, but I do tend to reach for things that have a little bit more sparkle to them. And this just doesn't have enough sparkle in it for me. And because I have an eyeliner in this shade, I think I can give this one away. Then let's do Twilight. This shade was always kind of original to me. I have a shade now in an Urban Decay liner that's just a little bit easier to use because it's a smaller size, but I do like this color of Twilight here. But I do think because I have a similar eyeliner that I don't need both. Then we have this shade, Queen Olive. And this one I think has become my favorite shade. I think it's because I just like olive green a lot. And it's kind of hard to find an eyeliner in this shade. I have one by Urban Decay that's very similar, but it's not quite golden enough for me. And so this one's kind of on the chopping block. I might keep this one because I haven't found one that's equivalent enough yet. Then we have this brown shade. This is the shade Immortal. And I often used this in combination with Guilt, which is swatched right here. And I would kind of wear this one all over my lid and this one as a liner, and they looked really nice together, which is why I think it might actually be nice to give them away as a pair. And so I think that's what I'll do. I'll give those away as a pair. And then we have the one matte nude stick that I ever had, and this is in the shade Slate. And what I do like about this one is it's a warm gray. A lot of the grays out there are kind of cold, but this one is warm, and I haven't found another liner like this yet. And so I think this is also kind of on the chopping block for me. It's one that I'm considering keeping, but I'm also kind of torn on it. So we'll keep these off to the side. Maybe we'll look at them at the end and I'll maybe reevaluate them. But I see something I know I can give away, and that is this. This is the Pat McGrath Cyber Clear Eye Gloss. I just have always wanted to be an eye gloss girl, and I have hooded eyes, so I don't know what on earth I was thinking, but this has this beautiful iridescence to it, and I just adore that sort of thing. And so I was so tempted by it. I succumbed to my fantasy self and I got it. And I mean, I did wear it, but it ends up being kind of uncomfortable on me because it makes my eyes feel sticky, and I don't like it when my eyelids stick together. So it gives a beautiful iridescent wet look. And I thought about keeping it maybe for my cheeks, but it never dries down. It always stays a little bit gloopy, so it's just not practical. It's absolutely fun, gorgeous, but it's more something you'd maybe use for a magazine shoot or an album cover shoot. But I don't think I need to keep this just in case I do an album cover where I want to look like I have iridescent eyelids. I think I might be able to find another solution. And that way I can give this one away while it's still good. So this one will also go in the declutter pile. And I think I see two more things over here I can get rid of. These are the Tarte chrome paints. I have one in Top Yacht and one in Martini. And these still look beautiful on the eye, but mine never had a stopper in them. And so a lot of times this formula can just get so messy. And I have just realized that if I want this type of shade, I usually reach for other palettes. Like I'll reach for a whole eyeshadow palette instead of just going into this and risking a mess. And I mean, you can see in this one, when they get really crumbly and messy, this is what they look like. And my whole table is gross over here now. I'll swatch them for you just so you can see how pretty they are, but I think I can definitely give these away without a problem. So we'll swatch Top Yacht here. This is just so shiny. I mean, they call it chrome paint for a reason because it's got a lot of shine to it. And I enjoy this color. It's just the format that is so impractical that it just doesn't suit me. So this one will go in the declutter pile. And then let's take a look at Martini. This is a gorgeous shade, and I would have been willing to put up with the format except for the fact that last summer I bought a eyeshadow quad from Tom Ford called Velour Khaki, and it has a shade in there that kind of gives me the same vibes as this. It's not quite as shiny as this version, but it's beautiful on the eye, and I think I would just rather use that one instead of dealing with the crumbly format of this, because as gorgeous as this one is, as shiny and pretty and perfect as this kind of bronzy green is, the one in the Tom Ford quad is just so much easier to use, and I reach for that one over this one every single time. So we'll wrap this one back up and put that in the declutter pile as well. And I think that's it for the clear cut things, but I guess we'll take a look at these next. These are all three from Tom Ford. They are the cream and powder eye colors. And each of them has kind of a topper shade like this. And each one of them has a cream shade, which I'll show you in a moment. But these are absolutely lovely duos. I prefer the cream part. The topper part is also great, but the cream part is my favorite, I think, out of all of these. Samantha Ravndal started a brand, Ochre, and she makes duos like these now because these have all been discontinued. So if you wanted one of these, you can't get them, but you can get a very similar version from Samantha Ravndal's brand. These are cream products, and I'm so afraid that they're going to start to age out. These two are still doing really well, but this one is starting to dry out, and that makes me really sad because I just love this formula so much. I think I'll swatch this one. Let's see right here. These are just the easiest things to wear, and in the summer they are just like the perfect eyeshadow. This is the perfect peach for my eyes in the summer, and so I am really going to miss this one. I think what I have to do is make a point to use these this year, because this is the shade Golden Peach. This one is drying out. It still looks nice now, but I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last because these other formulas are so much more creamy. Let's see, this one is Naked Bronze. I think this was the most popular colorway. And yeah, this one's much creamier. It's just so beautiful. It just, it's so juicy. I just really enjoy that shade. Also perfect in the summer. And then we have the shade Young Adonis. And this one is also still pretty creamy. So out of all of them, I think it's just the peach one that's kind of on the verge of going for now. But I want to make sure I use all three of these before they lose their juiciness. This one, the Young Adonis shade, is probably the one that I wear the most often every day. But these are definitely two of my favorite colors in the summer. So I will definitely be making a point to use these as much as I can this year. The only reason I'm not going to swatch the topper shades right now is because I still have more swatching to do, and these little glitter particles will never disappear. So they're very shiny. I guess maybe I can put it on my finger. We'll risk it. Yeah, so you can see how shiny these are. Maybe I will swatch them. This is my problem. My swatch goblin comes to call, and then you just can't stop me. It's like all I want to do is swatch all day. Problem is, where am I going to swatch them? I guess I'll go up here. So this is the topper from Young Adonis, from Naked Bronze, and from Golden Peach. And they're just very glittery, pretty toppers. Next, let's talk about some glitter toppers. Those are fun. I've got some Marc Jacobs sequins. That's totally old school. And then I have some Hourglass Scattered Light eyeshadows. And let's open these up and then see some swatches. Okay, I think you can see even in the pan how different the textures are. The shade from Marc Jacobs has a lot more texture to it, whereas the Scattered Light shadows from Hourglass, they just have more smoothness to them. They still have texture, but there's just something a little bit more sophisticated. I feel like the Marc Jacobs is almost like putting craft glitter on my eye in comparison. They're beautiful. They're not like craft glitter, but it's just a big difference, and I've just noticed that my preferences have been changing. So first, let's swatch these. This is the shade Smoke from Hourglass, and as you can see, even though they're loose, just like the Tarte shadows, they have these little stoppers in them, and that kind of helps keep the product intact, and it's a little bit easier to use. But these shadows are just so shiny and pretty, but in a way that's not too much, because I do find that sometimes some of those shiny shadows can be a little bit much for me, and these are just a little bit more natural looking. So this is the shade Reflect. So we have Smoke and we have Reflect. These Marc Jacobs shadows are going to be a lot more chunky, as you'll see. Yeah, they're even falling apart on me here. These are also older. I mean, Marc Jacobs has been out of business for how many years now? And these are still hanging around. When I blend these out, I feel like the base gets kind of patchy and the glitters are intermittent. They're still very pretty. Everything's pretty, but I just get a smoother, more even look with the Hourglass formula. And so I think if I know for a fact that anytime I reach for a glittery shadow like this, I'm almost always reaching for the Hourglass. In fact, I am always reaching for the Hourglass because the Marc Jacobs is just a little bit too, it's prone to fallout. It's not as smooth looking. So you can see there's a beautiful texture to the Marc Jacobs shadows and beautiful shine, but they're just not quite as even in the base. And so they end up looking a little bit chunky on the eye. And so I think that I can be very confident in saying that I will not miss these as beautiful as they are. I think maybe someone else could get more use out of them. I've taken very good care of them. I think they're still good. I am still willing to use them because they still, I don't think the quality has gone down at all. So I do feel comfortable giving them away if someone wants them. So I have to move the declutter pile a little bit, but they've become part of the declutter pile. And these Hourglass shadows are going to be staying on the keeper side. We don't have a lot of room for the keepers. This is a problem. Try to clean this up a bit. Now it's time to look at some heavy-duty workhorses, my MAC paint pots. These things have been with me since I started doing makeup seriously. I mean, not these particular ones, but this product has been in my life ever since I got really serious about makeup. So it's kind of hard for me to imagine decluttering these. At least the shade Soft Ochre. This is my ideal everyday base shade if I need to prime my eyes in a way that blanks out any of the color on my eyelid. So this one is definitely staying. But these two, I'm kind of wondering if I need to keep. Number one, because I know my mom kind of wants them. So I'm wondering if I should use this decluttering opportunity to let her try these two colors. And also because I recently purchased, well, in December anyway, I purchased this Danessa Myricks palette, which also has a pomade kind of putty formula in it. And it has a black and it has a couple of different shades of brown. And so I'm wondering if I really need to keep these separate pots as well. The difference between the putty formula in here and the putty formula here is that these, once they dry down, they stay put. Even on my oily hooded eyelids, they don't really crease very significantly throughout the day. So they make a great one and done shadow, but they also work well as liners and they work well as bases. They're just very utilitarian, these paint pots. This Danessa Myricks formula is much less pigmented, so you don't get as much payoff with these. And also I find that I have to prime my eyes with a separate primer before using these, because if I don't, they will crease. So these give me certain advantages that the Danessa Myricks formula can't. Let's see, I know I'm keeping this one, so I guess we'll put this in the keeper pile already. But when it comes to these two shades, this one I mostly use as a liner, and I have other liners. I do sometimes use it as an eye base. I've been taking a makeup course and I've been doing like carbon black smoky eyes, and this is a great base for that. I also used that for a really dark, saturated kind of chocolate eye look. So I get use out of these. I just don't know. It's so hard. What would you do? Let me know if you think I should declutter these in the comments. These are also chopping block items, so we'll put those with the other couple of things that I'm thinking about, and we'll come back to those in a moment. Because we have just one thing left to debate, and that is this. It is a little loose powder compact from Jane Iredale, and it's this beautiful golden powder. This was given to me as a gift from my mother, and every time I use it, I just use some glitter glue on my eyelid and I tap this over top, and it just gives a beautiful kind of soft look. It's very glowy, very ethereal, and I like it, but I haven't been using it that much. And I think it's because it's this format. It's loose. It's kind of messy. Let's see. I'll try to swatch it here. It's just a nice, natural looking gold shade. And what I'm thinking is maybe if I have less eyeshadow to play with, I'll be more likely to pick this up. And because it is so pretty and I like it every time I wear it, I think I'm going to keep this for now and then see maybe if shrinking down my makeup collection helps me go for this one more. Okay, let's make room for the chopping block items. All right, they're coming through. Okay, these two liners, we've got the green olive liner and we've got, oh yeah, that warm gray from Slate. But here's the deal. These are too thick to fit where I normally store my eyeliners. And so I usually keep these on my vanity and I find I just don't reach for them there. So even though I really like the colors of these, I think it would just be smarter for me to give them away so that someone else can get use out of them while they're still good. Because I think on my vanity, they're just gonna kind of get overlooked time and time again because that's typically what's happened. When it comes to these two MAC paint pots, this is a hard decision. I know for sure that my mom wanted to try this one, so I think I'm gonna give this to her. And I do have a black in the Danessa Myricks, and so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try using this because this is a great travel palette. I'm gonna see if I can get away with this, and I will give these away. And they're not limited edition products. I could always go pick them up again if I absolutely had to, but I have a feeling it'll be okay if I give these away. So let's see if I'm happy with the final tally. We've got 2 glitter shadows. We've got these 3 cream duos. Okay, when I look at these 2 piles, this is what I am decluttering, this is what I am keeping. I get very happy when I see things like these, and this is a workhorse. This is one of my favorites. These are workhorses. This combo gives me a favorite look. The one thing that I look at here that I'm not absolutely passionate about is this one shadow here. But I do think it's worth giving it some time, simply because it hasn't gotten enough attention, because look what else has been distracting me. When I look at this pile here, there's nothing that I'm particularly concerned about giving away. So I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna put these in my time will tell box and I'll see if I have any major regrets, but I think I'm gonna be pretty satisfied with this. My totals are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 kept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14! I'm decluttering more than I'm keeping. This is amazing. Holy guacamole. I can't believe that I chose to part with more than I kept. But to be honest, I really think that time will tell box is a huge help. Giving myself that buffer of several weeks to live with my final collection is really helping me make those hard decisions on those chopping block items like the Urban Decay Space Cowboy shadow or those NUDESTIX shadow sticks. So far, that box has helped me feel much more confident about my decisions because I know that if I need to tweak things, I can always reach back in and maybe trade an item in or out. I was a little bit worried that I might take advantage of that and start to take things out of the box, but I've actually been really good about it. And I think it's because I've been enjoying living with my quieter, more curated collection. So far, so good. Of course, I am saying this before I really get into the hardcore decluttering of my eyeshadow palettes, which is coming up. If you want to see those upcoming installments of my Makeup Maximalist Declutter series, then make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll also link the playlist in case you want to catch up on past categories. But no matter what, I hope you have a great week and that we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.